Hello, Chair.
Can you call her on the side, so that you can discuss the status of her health?
Okay, all right, sure.
No.
Hello, Chair.
No, Connie, we can just see the folder.
No.
No, it's not appearing.
Okay, let me try again.
Okay,
now?
it's appearing. Does
Okay.
it, honorable members? Does it, honorable members? Honorable Zeki has moved for the adoption.
Second, Malachi.
Second, thank you very much. As I've indicated, let me take the opportunity to welcome Minister and all the entities, management and leadership. Welcome honorable members to this engagement. We'll continue with our B3R, which is aimed at assessing the performance of the department and for the financial year under review. You all silence, moment of silence for meditation and prayer. Thank you very much. Can you bring the agenda on the screen, Koliso? Let me invite the minister and his team as we have the agenda. Minister, you're welcome. You can have your opening remarks and followed by the chairs of entities and the management. As we outlined on the agenda, I'm going to request that we observe the time as allocated so that we are able to give honorable members enough time to engage.
Hello, Chairperson.
Yes,
I have an apology from the Deputy Minister.
okay.
She won't be able to join the meeting.
Okay. It's only a Deputy Minister.
Yes, that's the only apology I've got, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Minister, you're welcome and your team. Who can proceed, Minister?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning, honorable members, chairpersons of our entities, administrator of HDA, chairperson of EAAB, and also of CSOS. Chair, my sincere apology, I'm on the road. And also I'm going to request that I be excused. I won't be able to join the whole meeting, but I'll sit through better part of the meeting. I do have an event with a presidential event in KZN, so that's why I'm on the road. That is starting at almost around 11 o'clock. So at that time, I'd request to be excused, but the team is here. They will be able to deal with the issues that members are raising. Just to indicate, I've already outlined quite a number of issues that relates to our state of our entities, both in terms of governance, when we appeared on Wednesday, and also in terms of what we would want to see going forward. I must indicate we did request them to adjust their presentation, and we do apologize. It was sent quite very late yesterday in trying to get it approved from my side. It was the issue where, after appearing before the committee on Wednesday, members raised concerns about action plans from Auditor General and also how we monitoring those audit outcomes and what we are going to do with them. You would note in some of the areas, Chair, it's not a perfect picture because when you look at what we are presenting in terms of audit outcome, it focuses on the financial year that we are accounting for instead of the previous one. There wasn't much time for us to really try and fix that. We do apologize about that, but we felt that it's important, at least even for going forward, so that members can see that we are now already working on developing the action plan. But CEOs and chairpersons of the board should be able to take you into their confidence as leaders in those institutions, what has been done with the previous audit outcome, what actions have been done. Specifically with HDA, you'd know that we do account on what has happened in terms of the issues that members have raised, especially on the Talana investigation, but also on the Duncan Village investigations by SIU. All other matters that are pending in terms of investigations have not been finalized. As they are finalized, we will share with the portfolio committee. There are quite a number of investigations, for example, in relation to HDA. You'd note, Chair, publicly there's been issues that have been flagged and have been requested to respond, which we've decided that we will not engage publicly in terms of just ensuring that we bring back confidence in our brand on issues, but also dealing with what needs to be Our priority for all our entities is stability. So including HDA, I've met with the executive, I've met with the administrator, I've met with the CEO, and I've outlined what I intend to do with the entity, but what we want to see, working together, focusing on priority areas and ensuring that we can be able to meet the task that we have. In relation to CSOS, there's been quite a number of issues. You've noted that there have been protests where people have gone to even hand over the memorandum. And issues vary from one to the other. Others could be disputes in their own estates, not understanding the process, but there have been quite a lot of issues around perception of manipulation of processes that we will be paying attention to, Chair. Issues around the adjudication process, the people who are adjudicating, and also in terms of fairness and openness of the processes so that we can build confidence in the public. That is one of the things that I will be paying attention, but also requesting the new board as they come in later this year to pay attention to. In CSOS, we've had resignations of members of the board, including the chair of the board who has requested to be excused, but he's still there. We did agree, myself and him, that if he can assist me until the end of the month, while we finalizing the process of appointment of the board, because we would want those who start those CSOS term of office is ending December, but we did not want to have a separate process, so would want some of the members, especially the person who will be designated by cabinet as a chair, to start with the process at least now, and then take over from January as well, conclude this year, and then take over from next year. With EAAB as well, Chair, there's been quite a lot of issues in terms of court processes, in terms of the disputes. I have met with Ribosa, which is the company that has taken EAAB to court. We have agreed on a process going forward. The time I met with them, it was during election time. So I've requested them to give me until the 3rd week of November, where I will be meeting with them so that we can go into detail on issues that we need to deal with. One, they have assured me that they are not having a problem with transformation, which is very critical. And also, they just felt that there's administrative issues that needs to be dealt with, which I said we'll have to go through in detail. What is it? As long as a principle between ourselves and them, we agree that transformation of the sector is key and it's primary. One of the things that I've emphasized with them is to want to see less of court cases, but sitting around the table and finding solutions as we work towards that. That also will be primary key responsibility as the board comes in the coming week or two, so that we can be able to ensure that we emphasize the importance of stability, the importance of working. We are moving, you would note, Chair, that we are now starting to actually implement our new processes in terms of the property practitioners. You would note that you had finalized the bill as Parliament and Act passed. The President has signed it into law, and we are in the process of implementation. So that will be something that we also intend to communicate. But once we launch our boards and we also announce who our board are, we will outline the entity, what the task at hand and primary responsibility for those entities are in the coming week. So, Chair, from my side, that is just an opening and just reflecting on what we want to do. We hope as we continue getting feedback and advice from the portfolio committee, we'll work on them and improve on that. So we do have the teams from the 3 entities that are before us today as the portfolio committee, and we're looking forward. I do apologize, I might not be here when members engage in questions and answers, but if there are matters that I need to pay attention to, I do have my advisors who are here as well, who will take note, and then when we appear next week, Chairperson, I can go back to those issues as the minister and respond to them, to members of the committee. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and hand over to you, Chair. Or if you allow me, I can hand over to the first entity to present, led by Dr. Mahapa, who's the administrator at HDA, together with the acting CEO, Daphne Mwashe, who are leading the delegation there. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Dr. Mahapa and the team.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Minister. I think Minister said a mouthful with regard to HDA. We are going to present our report and indicate where there are shortcomings and also indicate where we have moved with regard to trying to rebrand the HDA. We wanted to indicate, as the Minister indicated, that there was no stability, but in case of the Minister arriving, the Minister appointed an administrator in August, so that the administrator can be able to deal with the issues that are affecting the entity, representing the board, of which the Minister indicated that not long the board will be in place where the administrator will be able to give a handover report to the board, and then so that all the actions that we have taken, the board can be able to implement, because it will be a short time where the administrator can be able to implement that. Issues were raised during the portfolio committee meetings, which was presented by the national government, and we have taken note of that. And I can say a fortunate part of it, most of the time, we have taken action in case of dealing with such matters of consequence management, as the Minister indicated. And the Minister also met the ESCO and also indicated the line of march in case of dealing with that, and also the development of the action plan with regard to how far are we dealing with the issues that were raised in audit and also by the AG. And then with regard to the actions that we have taken, we wanted to indicate that the CEO will be able to indicate how far we are, and then also indicate some of the consequence management, because also some of them led to precautionary suspensions, which led to a person with regard to the irregular appointment, irregular expenditures. So the HR head, in case of the corporate service, with regard to most of the audit findings, were the one that was put on the precautionary suspension in case of dealing with the matter. So ultimately, with regard to that, we'll elaborate, Chairperson, where we are, what happened 2019, 2020, 2020 to 2021 with regard to the actions. But all those actions are in place, and forensic investigators have been appointed by the administrator to be able to deal with those matters. So some of them, in case of the writings, we have forwarded them to the Minister, and where the Minister will be able to indicate to the portfolio to say, these are the actions that have been taking place. So as we said, we are trying to stand on our feet. We've got an acting CEO that we have appointed that is dealing with the matter, which the Minister gave the mandate in case of dealing with some of the irregular expenditures that have appeared. I think she'll be able to flound what we call the presentation. And if questions are there, the team is there, it's available with me to assist in case of answering some of the questions that were raised by HDA. We just want to thank you, Chairperson. And then I think the CEO can start with the presentation, and then after that, we'll be able to answer questions that are asked during this presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Ngashia.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, honorable members. I would like to greet you this morning, and my colleagues as well from the department and from the HDA. And I'll request Paul to please slide the presentation for us. Thanks, Paul. I can see it. It's gone again. Hello, Paul. Do you want to give me permission to fly it from this side, or are you going to fly it from your side?
CEO, you do have
permission, but I'm sharing it.
Say again?
You do have the right, you can share your.
You can share.
Oh, okay, thanks. All right. Let me share it from this side.
We can see it now. It is on the screen already.
All right, thanks. All right, thank you very much, Chairperson. We are presenting the annual report of the HDA. That is just the content page. And this is the annual report for 2020-21, which is the year under review. Firstly, I just want to give the executive overview, which then gives you the timeline on, like Dr. Mahapa was saying, that he was appointed when the board was dissolved in February 2021, and Dr. Mahapa was replacing Mr. Neville Cheney, who was appointed from the 17th of February. And we only have one committee, which is a functional committee, which is our Audit and Risk Committee. And Mr. Stephen Poya was appointed as the acting CEO in February, and he acted for 6 months until the 27th of August, when I started acting. So I started acting on the 1st of September. I am on my 3rd month. Chairperson, again, on the overview and on the highlights, HDA, as you know, we developed a 5-year strategy for this MTSF period. And the strategy is underpinned by the following principles. And what we are looking to do as the HDA is to make sure that we implement our mandate in full. And we would want to be a principal in the developments that we do. We want the land that we acquire to be able to develop it and release it for human settlements. And whatever proceeds that we get from those developments, whether in partnership with the private sector or on our own, we would want to reinvest and reapply that into the further developments. HDA is looking to strengthen its own balance sheet, and we also want to be a catalyst in the sector for developments. And we also want to continue generating income from the project management fees, and also to share the financial risk with our delivery partners, strategic delivery partners that we have. And working with the department, we want to make sure that all the DORA conditions are complied with, and all the funds that we get or from the provinces and municipalities, or funds that may be ring-fenced for development, that they are adequately accounted for. I will go into our APP. This is
Sorry,
now,
Chair. Can we make the screen to go on the presentation mode so that we should not see 2 screens? Sorry for that.
okay. I don't think I know how to do that.
Put it on a slideshow, Paul.
Yes, I can try and do it. May I be the one who's sharing now? Because it was then taken away. Let me share the screen.
Okay. All right. So must I unshare?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. We
Is it
still see
showing?
yes, but we still see the names on the side. If you could maybe minimize the names.
This is it fine?
But it's better now, at least
Okay.
you can continue.
Can you go to the slide? Yes, I was on this slide, which then it is cutting a bit at the bottom, but I think we can try and finish that, Paul. These are the 4 programs that are on our APP. Program 1, which is administration, it's got your audit and risk, corporate support, finance, strategy and organizational performance, as well as our communications and marketing. And then program 2 is land management and priority human settlements development areas, PHS, HDAs, and it deals with land management as well as our PHDAs. And then program 3 is the program that deals with our regional coordination, as well as our programs, and our programs include informal settlements upgrading, catalytic projects, and distressed mining towns. The last program that deals with planning, monitoring, evaluation, and IGR, it's got intergovernmental relations and IGR, geographic information systems, as well as monitoring and evaluation. I think there's something that is cutting there at the bottom. You can go to the next slide, please. I don't know how to. Okay. Yes, these are the performance highlights for the last financial year, which is 2020-21. The first target there is 1,500 hectares that we were intending to acquire and release for human settlements. We have exceeded that target. We have achieved 2,116 hectares that we have acquired. And then the second target is 1,000 hectares of land that needed to be rezoned for human settlements development. As well, we have exceeded that target. We have managed to rezone 1,190 hectares. And then we needed to do 19 development plans for our PHAS HDAs, and we completed those 19 development plans. The last one being we needed to have established 19 partnership agreements for implementation of the PHDAs, and we also exceeded that target. We managed to establish 24 partnership agreements for the PHDAs. Next slide, please. Thanks, Paul. Our overall annual performance as the agency, we managed to achieve 57% of our targets, and 43% of our targets were not achieved. Next slide, please. This is just showing you the trends from it's a trend from 2018-19 to 2020-21. So 2018-19, we achieved 66% of our targets. 2019-20, we dropped by about 10%, and we achieved 56% of our targets. And then 2020-21, we gained just 1 percentage point, and we achieved 57% of our targets. Next slide, please. These are the number of KPIs that we had, and The total number of KPIs for program 1, it was 5 and we achieved 2, 3 were not achieved. Program 2, it was also 5, we achieved 4, 1 was not achieved. And program 3, we had 4 in total of our, 7 in total. We achieved 2 and 5 were not achieved. And then program 4, we have 4 targets and all 4 of them were achieved. So out of 21 KPAs, 12 targets were achieved and 9 were not achieved. That's where we got that percentages from. Next slide, please. The slide is cutting at the bottom, but that is the annual performance per program. The one program that achieved all 4 of their targets is program 4. And all the other programs, just a diagrammatic representation of what I was talking about in the previous slide. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is now showing you the trends quarter to quarter. When we started in quarter 1, I think we were in the middle of the hard lockdown. You will see that performance was at a very low level, which is 41%, as well as in quarter 2, we were still at 40%. And as we progressed in quarter 3, we managed to get about 50% of the targets that we had set for quarter 3, and quarter 4 as well, we stabilized at 50%. I think this is mostly due to the fact that you know, it was difficult to do work during the first 2 quarters of the financial year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Here, Chairperson, we're trying to show you our transformation and empowerment targets. And with the companies that are BBB level 1 up to 4, our annual target was 50%, and we managed to achieve 77.6%, as well as the one of military veterans. Our target was 5%, and we managed to meet 13%. The other 2, which is women and youth. Women, we had targeted 35% of our procurement spend to go to women. We managed to achieve 15.9% of that. And for our youth, we targeted 15% of our procurement spend to go to the youth, and we only managed to achieve about 11%. But we did not do well at all with our people with disabilities. We expected to at least 5% of our procurement plan to go to people, companies that are owned by people with disabilities, and we didn't do well there. That is the one target that we did not manage to achieve at all. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just an indication of the key indicators that are inside those programs that we had talked about earlier. And when we talk about the informal settlements upgrading, we as the HDA contribute towards the overall target that has to be met by the sector, which is 1,500 informal settlements upgraded to phase 3. But year on year, we take on a number, and last year, we targeted 375 informal settlements to be supported for upgrading to phase 3, and our achievement was 191 informal settlements supported. And then with the catalytic projects, we know we have our 50 national priority catalytic projects, and we managed to support about 36 of those projects with implementation. And then the mining towns, we have 23 prioritized mining towns. We managed to support all 23 prioritized mining towns. And with the 11,479 housing units that we targeted to deliver, we only managed to deliver about 4,564 housing units. And with the number of sites, we targeted to deliver 9,256, and we managed to deliver 4,217. Next slide, please. So this is now in as far as the MTSF targets are concerned. We are trying to measure ourselves to say between 2019 to 2020, 2014 to 2019, what were the targets, and then with this new MTSF target, how far did we go as the HDA in meeting the MTSF targets? So the MTSF target was saying 94 priority development areas should be declared for human settlements development, and we achieved 136. And then the hectares of land that were acquired is the 2,116 that I talked about earlier on, and the development plans that we needed to develop, we did 19. And the rezoning, we managed to rezone about 32% of the land that we acquired in the MTSF period. And this is just now demonstrating the HDA contribution overall to the MTSF targets, to say out of the 470 that the sector wanted to achieve, HDA said they will contribute 67,669, and to date we have contributed 5,000, which is about 8% of what we said we will achieve over the MTSF period. And the 300,000 service sites, we are contributing about 51,000, and now we are at 5%, which is about 2,525 service sites. And with the informal settlements, we work with the department to support as much as we can all of the 1,500, but in the year under review, we did 191, which is 11%. And with the title deeds, the target for the sector is about 300,000, and HDA targeted to do 39,000, and we did about 1,502. So these are 5-year targets, but we just wanted to show the progress of where we are. Now, these are the reasons why targets were not achieved. Last year, like I said, that we were in the middle of a pandemic. A number of budgets were reprioritized by the provincial departments to avail funding for the response to COVID-19 interventions. So some of the projects were cancelled. So the budgets were then, they then had to be reprioritized. So some of the mandate by provinces and municipalities that were given to the HDA was withdrawn. But also with the process of implementation of projects, that was very slow because some of the sites could not be accessed, especially those that deal with wastewater treatment works. It was deemed not to be healthy for people to go to those areas in the middle of a pandemic, but also construction work ceased in a number of areas. But there was also shortage of supply of delivery of building materials. And I know that the building materials, especially steel, became scarce at a certain point. And I can say that it is the case with a number of other goods that are not necessarily building materials that were affected by the pandemic. Next slide, please. Now, the plans that we managed to achieve before the end of the financial year last year to try and improve on performance, we established what we called an operations committee. And this was to provide guidance and support and oversight regarding programs and projects of the HDA. And that is purely what management did as an intervention on their own to try and improve on performance. And the project readiness committee as well was a committee to try and see the projects that we are taking on as HDA. Some of them are not even ready for implementation in that year. So we are trying to, before we can take on a project or before we can put that project out on tender, make sure that that project is ready for implementation. And then we have a project tracking tool that we established last year. That tool right now is at its implementation stage, but we established it while before the end of the financial year. And this tool ensures that we monitor performance. Now, the audit outcome, that we have a qualified audit opinion. And I think if we can go into the next slide, I will be in a position to just indicate, yes, thank you. The HTA is in its third year of receiving qualified audit opinions. And in terms of assurance levels, I can say that senior management, accounting officer, executive authority, the audit committee, and the internal audit, that is including the ARC, provides some level of assurance. And the status, or let me talk about then the internal controls, to say that HR management went down. The controls in HR did not stabilize, they did not improve, they actually went down. But with the other leadership, financial management, that is your IT systems, your risk management, there is some level of assurance that is provided there, but surely we can improve in other areas that are listed there. And then the risk areas, I'm looking at one area that improved, which is information technology, as well as the quality of information, that performance information that has been submitted. Those are the two areas where there was improvement. Actually, the performance information has been consistent throughout these 3 years. And this year, actually, it went even up. But our HR, like I said, it went down. Financial health stayed the same, but I'm sure we can do better with how we present our financial statements, and we can do better in our supply chain management. The root causes, they are clear there, they are self-explanatory. We've had problems with leadership and management. We've had acting positions. We've been under administration. We didn't have a functional board. And the other issue was that of project obligations and the inadequate controls. But what the committee raised in the meeting that we had with the department of slow response to consequence management is still a problem in the agency. Next slide, please. This is now giving you a summary of the 2021 audit outcome. The opinion, as I said, is qualified audit, and the basis of the opinion is on the project obligations. We have irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, and the one that was unmodified is that one of the predetermined objectives. Chairperson, I'm going to give to the CEO to take us through the finances, and then I'll come back again to deal with the audit action plan. Thanks.
Good morning, Minister, Deputy Minister, members and colleagues. I will take you through the financial statement, which is on slide 25. If I could have the same slide flighted, please.
We
Hello,
have
Mr.
lost
Minister,
the
Combo slide, you
presentation.
can-
We have lost the presentation.
Paul, do you want to continue presenting?
You have the co-host, right, ma'am? You can share from your side.
Yes, I'm doing it.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Sorry. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. If Paul, you may go to slide number 25. This is where our financial statements are starting. In our thank you statement of financial position, we are reporting our total assets of 1.9 billion, and our significant items on our balance sheet is our land inventory that's sitting at 422 million. This is the land that will be developed and prepared in the sector, and we're holding this land on behalf of our partners, our stakeholders. We are also reporting cash and cash equivalents of 1.2 billion. This is the cash that is represented by our assigned implementation protocols, our signed funding agreements, and we have ring-fenced these funds to be used for our project obligations. Next slide. Our liabilities are presented by our accumulated surplus. We will see when we're presenting our statement of financial position that we had surpluses that we reported in the financial year, and we had surpluses that we reported in the prior financial year. And that we've got accumulated surplus of 140 million. And that is also presented in our project obligations. This is the obligations that we have, we're holding in terms of our funding agreements, projects that we are delivering on behalf of our stakeholders, and that is reported at 671 million. On the next slide, we are reporting a statement of financial position. Our grant funding from the department of 233 million was received. We also get support from our provinces. We've received the 107 million. This is the funds that assist the HDA in operational expenses for the provincial offices that we have opened throughout the country. And we've received project management fees of 13 million in the financial year. Our total expenditure is sitting at 294 million, of which our significant expense is our employee cost that is sitting at 164 million. On the next slide, we are reporting surpluses for the year of 109 million. The surplus that was actually received from the grant funding itself was 65 million. And we had a write-off of a debt of 44 million, and that funds were received in this financial year, and that has increased our other income, resulting in our surplus for the year reported at 109 million. In terms of the changes of our net assets, as I have reported, we had surpluses of a total of 104 million. This is our accumulated surplus. I will move to the next slide. Our cash flow statement, we are reporting a positive cash flow reporting, and this is a result that HDA is in a good financial health status. Our net cash out from operating activities at 176 million. On the next slide, please. We also do activities with our stakeholders, and this is activities of our project application, and we're seeing a movement of cash flow from our financing activities reported at 425 million, and we're reporting at the end of the financial year our cash and cash equivalents of 1.2 billion. Next slide. We do a comparison of our budget, and this is the statement that measures our performance from the financial point of view. And you will see from there that we have received our operating grant funding, so there is no variance reported. We almost received all our funds from our provincial grant funding, our MTOPs, and we're reporting a 410 variance. Our management fee, we still need to work hard on improving on our performance. As the HDA increases performance, then the management fee will also improve. And we almost at about 50%, 49% recovery on our budgeted management fee. I have reported on other income that we received 44 million, which meant that the 48 million was actually received, but the budget was 4.2. There was a data that was written off, and that 44 million was received in this financial year, increasing the variance. In terms of our expenditure at the bottom line, our total expenditure against our budget, we have spent 21%. The next slide, please. I will hand over back to you, Daphne, on the audit action plan. Thank you.
Thank you. The audit action plan that is in this presentation is only addressing the audit outcomes of last year. When the questions came on Wednesday, we did a supplementary presentation that then deals with the prior year issues, but that is not in this in these slides. It is on a separate presentation which we have circulated as well. The first, maybe the two biggest areas where we got the qualification is that of the finance area and the SCM. And the issue of the project obligations, you know, the control deficiency there was that we are not able to implement proper record keeping. When the auditors come and they're asking for information, the information is not readily accessible, or the information in certain instances is inaccurate. So when they go to the provinces and they ask the provinces to confirm what kind of how much money they've transferred to the HDA, they were not able to receive confirmations. They received confirmations only from KZN and sorry, from Free State and Northern Cape, I don't remember. So they said that other areas did not agree with what we provided them. So in terms of dealing with that, we work with our regional offices and we work with our provinces and municipalities on a monthly basis to try and get them to submit the recons. We submit the recons to them. We try and get them to sign them off. We want them to be satisfied that this is indeed what they have transferred to us. And then upon saying that they are satisfied, we want them to sign off. So when the auditors come, they will get that information that is signed off by both the HDA and the transferring department or province. So that is the action plan that we have put in place. But we also have meetings. We have monthly meetings with our CFOs. In certain instances, the HODs join those meetings. And those recons are dealt with by Sibusiso, who is newly appointed to deal with all project obligations. And then the other issue was that of material adjustments after submission of the financial statements. And the remedial action, we are trying to make sure that those deadlines for adjustments that are submitted to them are communicated, because sometimes after the deadline, there are some adjustments. So those adjustments, we make sure that they are properly reconciled. And we meet with provinces. We've started with KZN and the Free State, and we are continuing with 2 provinces per month to meet with them. And that then deals with your project payables and all the clearing accounts and the intercompany transfers that we have. So the issue of records management is at the center of those findings. The next one as well, management did not implement controls over daily and monthly processing and reconciliation of transactions, and that cut across through to the project services expenses, land-related costs, as well as the travel, repairs and maintenance and other operating expenses. So we are sending frequent reminders to the end users, that is the departments within HDA, to make sure that invoices are not only piled up and presented towards the end of the financial year, which makes the year-end closing very cumbersome. We make sure that they provide invoices as they are supposed to. Next slide, please. The cash and cash equivalents as well. If you look at that and the debit balances as well as the assets accounts, the control deficiencies are also similar. It's the issue of keeping proper financial reports supported by evidence and making sure that the information is reliable and the information is accurate. So it is just that matter of making sure that the end users do the work that they need to do on a monthly basis, and we have monthly reconciliations, and in as far as assets are concerned, we're doing it, we do the assets audit biannually. Next one, please. The staff receivables, property, plant and equipment, it's also an issue of financial performance records and reliable information. You will see when I present the supplementary information that we have a proper records and document management system that we have introduced in the HDA, and we are taking this seriously to make sure that information is accurate, it is accessible, and it is reliable. Next item, please. This one is on supply chain. The supply chain management had a number of findings this year, and most of them were that there is no compliance with applicable laws and regulations, where you find that there's a number of examples that I will give as I go, like where SBD forms were not submitted, or where the highest qualifying bidder was not the one that was awarded the tender. You will see as I go that it's an issue of compliance with applicable laws and regulations. So we have put a take-on form in place. We ensure that the project that is being procured is in the procurement plan. The official that is dealing with that has the proper sign-offs from the regional head and the managers that are responsible for that project, and that the TORs are signed off and they are reviewed by the SCM specialist. Next slide, please. Then this one is talking about management did not review and monitor compliance with applicable laws still. So we also added what we call a probity audit team, which was not there before. If you check why procurement processes, especially in, for an example, in Talana, where we missed, and they make sure that the SCM processes are followed. The decisions that are taken by the PEC are carried by the PAC, and they are recommended to the CEO for approval. If there's any deviation that has to happen, that the deviation is reasonable and it's within the prescripts. And this probity team is really attendance registers in those bid committee meetings. So there's a system in MS Teams where you can enter, or you can sign the attendance register that was not properly kept at the time. And then a panel, and people did not see the need to still have a bid spec, and we are no longer doing that. We are making sure that every bid has got a bid spec. It was like the panel was formulated following competitive, have a proper signed specification, which then gets evaluated, which then gets adjudicated and awarded. And then this is the other example I was talking about, to say the bidder that got the highest scores was not necessarily the one that was awarded. It was an audit finding. The auditors felt that the reasons that were given for overlooking that bidder were not sufficient. So the probity team as well is keeping us in check. SBD forms are now forming part of the tender document, instead of just asking bidders to make sure that they download them from our website and attach them. We are making them as part of the tender document. So this has been taken care of. And if they don't submit, there's a clause that has been inserted that says that notifies them that they will be disqualified if those types of forms are not in there. And then this one of not advertising the tenders on the e-tender publication portal of the National Treasury. We had this portal down for some time during lockdown, and we managed to make sure that the National Treasury is aware of the system being down. And unfortunately, we could not convince our auditors not to give us a finding. But as soon as the system is up and running, we upload all of our tenders on the tender e-portal that is managed by the National Treasury. But in the meantime that the tender portal is down, we make sure that the tenders are out on our website and in the media widely. Next slide, please. The issue of tax compliance, awarding tenders to bidders that are not tax compliant. All appointment letters now are accompanied by our CSD report before the CEO signs off any appointment letters. We make sure that the tax matters of the bidders are in order. Otherwise, the appointment letter is not signed. The SBD4, I've already talked about them. Next slide, please. It's the same as the previous slide. Next, okay, sorry. There is an issue of fruitless and wasteful expenditure register that was not maintained. We have established a fruitless and wasteful expenditure register, which is managed by the finance division, and we have an irregular expenditure register separately from that one. And we have established what we call an irregular expenditure framework in line with the guidelines of the National Treasury. And we are implementing the irregular expenditure framework. This will assist us to deal with the prior year matters that have not been cleared, and also where we can condone, it will assist us to condone. And where we need to institute disciplinary processes or recover loss or institute criminal investigations, then we will be in a position to do that, because now we have an irregular expenditure framework. The framework was approved by EXCO, but it has to go now to ARC for the administrator to then approve it for implementation. The last item there, I think, is on the quarterly reports, because we didn't have in-year monitoring of our financials. So we have introduced that, and they're now tabled at EXCO, and we take them to ARC on a quarterly basis. So this is where we end this presentation, and we would wish the committee to note the annual report presentation. But we would want to be given an opportunity to also present the supplementary report that came as a result of some of the questions that were raised on Wednesday. And we circulated that. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if members had a chance of going through it, but it's only about 10 slides, and we won't be long, because it's just to show where we are with some of these things that were raised. Paul, if you may, please. Yes, thank you. There were two questions that I noted from the discussions that we had with the committee on Wednesday. It was during the portfolio committee session of the department. Next slide, Paul. The two questions that we noted were, can you give us the audit improvement action plan indicating action steps and timelines to address the findings, and the consequence management action steps in relation to irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure with timelines? Next slide. So we wanted to show which areas had repeat findings from 2018 to 2020. And that is a list that shows areas that had repeat findings. So where you see the tick is where there was the finding was there. So it shows us that you know, these are the areas that we need to tighten as the HDA. So in SCM, the making sure that the bid adjudication committees are formed. The bid adjudication committees get formed, but the appointment letters, because every time we have a committee, there is an appointment letter that appoints members to that committee. Those appointment letters committee, even though it sits for 12 months, each of those members get a letter that appoints them to that committee. So the record keeping of those appointments was not properly kept, and the finding will just say the committee was not formed. And then the issue of contracts not awarded